All right, wrestling fans, we're back here once again. Off the Top Rope Radio is back on the air. We are live for 8/8/12. That's right, August 8th, the year 2012. Welcome aboard once again, wrestling fans. We do appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And, well, we're going to talk some professional wrestling. We got a hell of a show lined up for you. Guarantee we've got 3 fantastic guests, and we'll talk about them here in just a minute or two. Welcome to the show. Like I said, Off the Top Rope Radio is on the air on this fine radio station known as KQCK, right here in the beautiful Santan Valley in Arizona, south of Phoenix, north of Tucson. And
look at that. We've already got a confused fellow up there. It says, what happened to Off the Top Rope Radio?
Well, we're going to tell you in just a moment. We're back live once again, ladies and gentlemen. My name
are here, baby.
Is Brian Schenk. I'm the host of the program. And across from me, as usual, pressing all the buttons, turning all the knobs, is, of course, Joe. Don't hate me because I'm bountiful. Carreiro. What's up?
Hey, Diggity. What's happening, my friend?
Diggity Dak.
That's right.
All right, we got
I like
Dak.
to see these same names coming up there on the chat.
Yeah.
I also want to see some new names. Those of you that are just on the listen now, and I know if you're at work, it makes it tough, different things like that. But if you're on that listen now, jump over to the Watch Live show.
Yeah.
It's got a chat right next to it. You can chat. You can BS with us. And right now, because we have 3 guests coming on, and our second studio phone here malfunctioned. I'm not going to be able to take callers while the guests are on. So let's get some chat going, guys.
And not only that, too, not only just the chat, which Joe mentioned, that's a great thing, but if you want to call on the program right now, we've got about a good 10 minutes before I bring on Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe. We'd love for you to call. The phone number, it's easy. It's 480-745-1033. That's 480-745-1033. If you'd like to come on the air and talk with us for a few minutes before we go to our interviews, we'd love to have that. If you are too nervous or too crazy and don't want to be on the air, that's fine. That's cool. You can always just talk to Joe off the air there and ask a question or make a comment. He's got these cool little note cards I made. You know, you give him the name and where you're calling from and all that good stuff.
Your birthday, how many kids you have.
Your social security number, your favorite flavor of ice cream.
Breast size.
Your favorite.
Why does it say breast size?
Your favorite member of the Brady Bunch.
I'm not asking men that.
Who was your favorite member of the Brady Bunch?
That would probably have to be Marcia.
I liked Marcia, too.
Marcia was cool.
You know, I liked Marcia, but as they got older, I really liked to start liking Jan.
You did like Jan, huh?
Yeah, the middle girl like
Jan knew how to cook. That's what I liked about Jan.
Oh, I didn't care about
the cooking. She also was very big into erotic massage.
She had nice butt and long blonde hair. That's all I was looking at. I could give a damn if she called out for takeout every night.
When she started taking those erotic massage classes, I was like, Jan, no more Marcia.
I like Jan.
You know what I'm saying?
Even Cindy, when she got older, she wasn't bad.
What is she, about 90 now, Cindy?
92. Yeah, she's 92.
Still looking good.
Yeah, the Brady girls are all in their hundreds except for Cindy. She's 92 now, which is weird. She just celebrated it last week.
You know what? I have to say one more thing.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because next week, I believe, is the week that they've got the Brady's baseball reunion.
Is that serious?
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I couldn't go along with that because you really believed me.
Well, I love the Brady Bunch. You know, you're speaking of history. As a matter of fact, today being 8/8, August the 8th, if we go back in history 24 years ago, 8/8/88, that was the first night.
8/8/88.
Yeah, 8/8/88 was the first night home game played by the Chicago Cubs in Wrigley Field. As you may know, from like 19 whatever till 1988, they only played day games in Wrigley due to them not having lights. But at 8/8/88, they went ahead and played their first home game. I can't remember who they played, but I do believe they lost. It's only making sense. That's my team. But like I said, if you want to call into the program, talk to Joe off the air, ask a question or comment, or get on the air with us, we'd love to have you before we get to our interviews. It's very easy. Pick up your little telephone and dial in these numbers, 480-745-1033. That's 480-745-1033. Again, if you just want to talk to Joe off the air and make your comment or your question known, we can do that. I'll read them on the air. If you want to get on the air, that'd be wonderful too. So before we get to our interview, before we get to any calls and whatnot, I want to go back to this day in professional wrestling. That's right, this day in history in professional wrestling. August the 8th, 1928, a very special day because one of my favorites of all time, and I really mean this, Lord Alfred Hayes. Oh, Gorilla! Lord Alfred Hayes, the WWF mainstay, great announcer and a great heel manager and great heel wrestler back in his day. Lord Alfred Hayes was born on this day, August the 8th, 1928. We lost Alfred about 7 years ago. July 21st, 2005 is when he passed away. He was born Alfred George James Hayes. Boy, is that a name or what, man? I'll tell you what. So I don't know if I should say happy birthday to him, but I guess why not? They say happy birthday to deceased people all the time. So happy birthday to Lord Alfred Hayes. And I also know that Lord Alfred Hayes was a very good friend of a very good friend of mine, Mr. Mick Karch of AWA, American Wrestling Association fame, who hopefully is listening today. I don't know. But I know they were very good friends and worked together in the AWF, the defunct group of Paul Alperstein way back in the day. So happy birthday, Lord Alfred. And also, this week in professional wrestling, on the 6th, a couple days ago, 8/6/48, 1948, Dino Bravo, who wrestled, of course, in the World Wrestling Federation and everywhere else before that. I also believe in Mid-South for a while. I think it was Mid-South. Dino Bravo was born. Unfortunately, he passed away March 10th, 1993. He was actually shot in his own living room while he was watching TV, and they were trying to say that it was possibly, gang style. I don't know. I just thought it was kind of bad. So, but regardless, Dino Bravo. And also, on that same day, 8/6 of 1932, Grizzly Smith, the son of Jake the Snake Roberts, I said the father of Jake the Snake Roberts, and Rockin' Robin, and Sam Houston was born on that day, 8/6, 1932.
Does that have anything to do with Grizzly Adams?
No, Grizzly Smith. But you know what? A lot of people did confuse him with Grizzly Adams, the TV show, because they were actually similar with their facial hair and all that meanness and stuff like
Diggity
that.
Deck says 1914 to 1988, Schenk's Chicago Cubs played day games.
That's what did he say? Say it again. Read it again.
1914 to 1988, Schenk's Chicago Cubs played day games.
That's correct, and they lost the majority of them. Last time they won a World Series, 1908. Last time they were in a World Series, 1945. So, anyway. Okay, we got some calls off the air here. Jared called in today from Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Hey, right. Chattanooga.
I like Chattanooga. That's a cool... I just like the sound of
Will
that.
you sing the Chattanooga choo-choo?
Yeah, the Chattanooga choo-choo. That's all I know. I don't know any other words.
I don't know it either.
You know, I love Chattanooga. I just like the sound of that. I wish I was from...
It sounds like a nutty treat.
You know what? Too bad Chattanooga's not in Massachusetts, because you'd be Chattanooga, Massachusetts. Is that like a lot of syllables there? Seriously? It's like an eye chart.
You brought two flies in with you, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think I brought those in.
They were on your back when you came. I saw them.
I think they were in some part of your body when they came in. Check under your arms there, Joseph. Anyway, Jared was calling us from Subway. No, I'm sorry. Jared was calling us from Chattanooga, Tennessee. He says, is this time going to be the...
real time.
Did you write this with your toes?
I think it said real time.
Did you write this with your feet?
I did.
Is this going to be the right time from now on? Yes, it is. We will be going on at 3 o'clock Pacific, which is 5 o'clock Central, and 6 o'clock Eastern. That is our new time set in stone, Jared. That'll be our new time right here on KQCK, heard exclusively on KQCKlive.com. Or now you can just type in KQCK.com, and it'll go right to the site as well.
And I just want you to know, I am asking people if they'll go live on the air, but people aren't that comfortable with it, some of them.
That's okay. But I'd like for them to come on the air, you know?
Julie is not comfortable with that.
Oh,
no, you're not on the air,
Tell Julie she should come on the air and talk wrestling with us.
Don't hang up, Julie. I'll take your message.
Yeah, she'll take the message. All right. Anyway, he also says here that he's a fan of KQCK's Facebook page, which is awesome, and Joe's blog. So, Jared, thank you for being a fan of Off the Top Rope Radio right here on KQCK. We do appreciate it. Don't forget, you can see us live on the old computer screen there when you go on to the Listen Live and Watch Live. You can be on our message board, which we'd love to have you go up there and talk, and all that good stuff. So, going back to This Week in Wrestling, I thought this was kind of cool. Also, I didn't know they even had this. And this, I thought I knew a lot about wrestling, but then again, what do I get when I think I know something? I'm usually wrong. But 8/5/1975, just this week in 1975, I was 4 years old. Superstar Billy Graham defeated Mad Dog Vachon in the NWA Texas Brass Knuckles Championship. Now, that would have been a match I wish I could have had ringside seating for, because I'm thinking probably would have cost you about $2 back in those days to see Superstar Billy Graham and Mad Dog Vachon in a Brass Knuckles Championship match for the National Wrestling Alliance. Great wrestling there. I mean, these guys are fantastic. Superstar Billy Graham and Mad Dog Vachon. So we got another call. We've got a couple more people here. You give me 2 pieces of paper. Oh, Julie called in. Julie called in from Tampa, Florida.
You know, it's funny you said that about the logo, because how can,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have noticed that in a million years, and that's the second call we get.
I know.
Or third.
Well, Julie from Tampa said, are the guests today going to be in studio? Unfortunately not, because Kamala's in Mississippi. Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe is in Minneapolis, and Honky Tonk Man is in Arizona, but kind of further away.
But it will be them.
And she said, bad, what does that say? Bad what?
Bad logo.
Bad logo, better change.
She wasn't upset about it. No. I know you did say that.
Yeah, well, I just said that that's an old school logo. I told Joe, and Joe tried. And
she said the same thing.
Yeah, it's an old school logo, and it's something they don't use anymore. But there's a reason why we have it up there, because we're celebrating the Honky Tonk Man and Kamala, who are old school wrestlers from the WWF back in the day, and that was the logo they used back in the 80s when they were popular.
That'll be changed for next show.
Yeah, but that's good for today. I like it. And Julie, we appreciate your keenness and your eyesight and your ability to dial a phone and get in with us. We really appreciate that. And how'd she hear about the show? From the website, doing a Google search? That's awesome. I love to see that, on the website.
She said from the web.
From the web, I know, but it also says Google, which I think is on the website. So I'm going to give you Buck ZumHofe's phone number here. We're going to get him on the phone. Because
you give that to Julie?
No, I'm not going to give it to Julie. I'm going to give it to you.
Gotcha.
Here, call the one that says home. Call what that says there. Home. The second
one
one
that says
down.
Home Invasion.
No, not the Home Invasion. That's something else that he was. Never mind. We'll leave that alone.
All right.
Yeah. But no, Jared and Julie, thank you so much. The 2J's giving us a call, and we're going to go to a phone call here in just a moment or two with Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe, because we want to go ahead and get him on the phone of AWA fame, American Wrestling Association. And then after Buck, around the 3:30 time, which is 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern, we're going to go ahead and have Kamala, the Ugandan giant, on the phone. We're going to discuss a few things with him. We had on last week Baby Doll, and we talked about all the things that he was going through and whatnot. And I really thought that Kamala is one of my favorites back in the day. I mean, for a big guy like that to be so agile and so good inside the ring, there wasn't a lot of people like that of that size who could really go. And he's a good friend of mine, James Harris, of course. Kamala, he's a wonderful guy, and we're going to go ahead and talk to him about everything that's been going on in his life, and kind of talk about what he's been going through here lately, and touch base about his professional wrestling career as well. Then after that, around the quarter till mark, we're going to have on the Honky Tonk Man. That's right, my good friend, Mr. Wayne Ferris of the World Wrestling Federation days. He's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, Mr. Honky Tonk Man. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And, there's another thing I want to talk about, too, is that Kevin Nash recently on a radio program, he made some comments that, well, I think kind of irked a lot of people. He was saying that the day that Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit won championships in the World Wrestling Entertainment, it kind of killed the business, so to speak. I don't agree with that at all. I really think that Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero were two fine, fantastic wrestlers. God rest their souls. And I thought that they were well deserving of the heavyweight championships. And I want to talk more about that maybe later on if I can get to it. But before that, I want to go ahead and welcome my next guest right here on Off the Top Rope Radio, heard exclusively on KQCK Radio Station in Santan Valley, Arizona, is my good longtime close personal friend, to quote Mr. Mean Gene Okerlund. He is known as Rock and Roll, Mr. Buck ZumHofe. How you doing, Buck?
Hey, my man, how's it going?
I'm doing just fine. I hope everything's going well up there in the old Minnesota area. How's the weather up there today?
Hot, man. We must have Arizona weather up here. It's 90 degrees every day, but hey, the wrestling business is good, so who cares?
That's awesome. I know you do your wrestling inside anyway where it's nice and cool, unless it's like the old NWA Jim Crockett areas and arenas where it was really hot, just as hot inside as it was outside. And I know you wrestled in some of those buildings and facilities back in the day with the AWA where it felt like it was a sauna you were wrestling in. Am I pretty much correct about that?
You bet. I remember, boy, talking about the good old days when he still had the Crusher and the Mad Dog and the Baron and the Claw Master and all the guys from the AWA.
Yep.
Well, obviously, they had them all over. You still had Harley Race and Ric Flair, and everywhere he went, they all had their style of wrestling. And, well, Minnesota up here, we had the same growling and roughhousing and punching in the nose and all of that also. I guess we've got it all here. And back then, of course, it was All-Star Wrestling.
Yes, All-Star Wrestling was one of the greatest programs. If you all were lucky enough and young enough to remember the days when it was basically a wrestling show where they played a little bit of a montage in the beginning. They welcomed you to the program. There was usually some announcer at a desk with a microphone, talked about the wrestler, maybe brought him on for an interview, went to the ring, and it went on like that for 60 minutes, and it was fantastic. And even back in the days then, Buck, I was always looking forward to the commercials coming up, too, because they were classic, like in Chicagoland with Ben's Auto Sales and, Bobo Brazil doing the old Quick Mart commercials with Jesse Ventura. And, up in Minnesota, they had those local, liquor store places or car ads and stuff. And it was just magic back then. And I know that you have to remember quite a bit of those days pretty well. Is there one match either that you were involved in or that you saw live that just rings in your head every time somebody may ask you this question?
Well, I remember when I first started off, Peter Maivia was up here from Hawaii, of course, and that's The Rock's grandpa.
That's right.
And he had one of those outstanding matches with Ray Stevens. I'll tell you. And the deal was back then they were grooming, I guess the word is, Peter Maivia to be wrestling Nick Bockwinkel.
Oh.
And before he could wrestle Nick Bockwinkel, of course, he had to go through Ray Stevens.
Yeah.
And that was one of those real good old-fashioned 40 minutes, back and forth of Ray Stevens. He was one of the like our game, I guess, the villain or the bad guy.
Yep.
He was one of the... And I'll never forget that because I just started wrestling, and even though I was in the business only a couple of months, I still got excited about watching Ray Stevens or Nick Bockwinkel, even Pat Patterson. A lot of these guys, when they'd go up and show their style of work and the way they put on a match, which obviously is quite different, a lot different than today. But back then, Ray Stevens would lay him in and really real solid wrestling. Was really great, I thought.
Without a doubt. And you mentioned Pat Patterson, the first ever Intercontinental Champion in the World Wrestling Federation back in the day, and a real good one. And, you mentioned also, too, Peter Maivia, the High Chief, grandfather of The Rock and father of Rocky Johnson. And those are matches that, when I asked you that question, you answered rather quickly. And to me, that's impressive because for someone of your peers like that, to have that much of an impression on you to where you can answer it without even thinking for a second, that shows that there was a lot of energy there and obviously some respect from the boys like yourself. And I wish I could have seen that match, and I'm sure maybe it's floating somewhere around. But you also mentioned Nick Bockwinkel a moment ago in your conversation there. In your opinion, Buck, do you think Nick Bockwinkel was the greatest world champion not only the AWA ever had, or possibly even the greatest world champion in wrestling?
Well, this is what I believe, and, everybody has a different idea. But Nick Bockwinkel, even Ric Flair, no, I don't mean it in a bad way, but Ric Flair, his character was money and jewelry and a ladies' style kind of man, which is Ric Flair's character, and that's okay. But Nick Bockwinkel, he had class. He always wore a sports coat, either an open collar or he always wore a tie. Very mild talking, when he was talking to wrestling fans or even talking to another wrestler. Very seldom did he do like a lot of these wrestlers who practically go nuts. And I think there's a place for some of that stuff. But in our profession, it's nice to have a man who combs his hair and dresses up, and he can get on the microphone and he can explain to you, the wrestling world, what he intends on doing, what he expects the promotion to do, what he expects the wrestling fans to do, and he can do it articulately, like he always used to say. And he would handle it with class. He wouldn't be out pulling his hair or hitting his head into the chair or hitting his head into the backdrop or pushing the little Gene Okerlund or Marty O'Neill around. He was class. And I believe in our profession we could use a few more guys like that instead of the other way around, all these crazy guys. Okay?
Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe is on the air with us here on Off the Top Rope Radio, heard exclusively on KQCK Radio Station here in Santan Valley, Arizona. And those are awesome words because I echo everything that you just said about Nick Bockwinkel. And the biggest thing is that you said that he'd come out, with the suit, very classy, very well spoken, very softly spoken, got his point across without having to scream and yell. And also, not only that, but man, could he really wrestle. I mean, you look at a guy who would go out there and they could look the look, but when they got inside the ring, nothing. When you saw somebody who can go out there and talk, they necessarily might not even been a very good wrestler or vice versa. But I'll tell you what, Nick Bockwinkel, to me, the total package, taking nothing away from Lex Luger using that moniker. But Nick Bockwinkel, one of my favorites of all time, definitely, in my opinion, one of the top 5 world champions in the world, and I got to give him credit for that. Now, switching gears over to Mr. Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe, did you have a certain feud or a certain wrestler that you enjoyed wrestling the most, whether it was because you just, gelled so well inside the ring, or you got the most heat from the fans, or is there anybody that just comes right to your head that you really enjoyed working with on a daily basis?
Okay, I think I lost you just a little bit. Come on back.
Are you there?
I didn't quite get that last question.
Okay,
Yep.
Okay.
Give me that last question again.
I was going to say, is there any wrestler or any feud that just really sticks well inside your head that you were personally involved with? Anybody that you wrestled that you gelled with just perfectly, or just enjoyed working on a daily basis or a weekly basis? Was there that one person that you can just say, that was a night off for me?
Okay, well, that's easy. I know a lot of people like to think that Hulk Hogan, well, he came into the WWF or the WWE, and they think, well, yeah, he just kind of came out of the blue as gangbusters, and that's kind of what happened in the WWE, but it's not necessarily true. When I was in the AWA a couple of years before Hulk Hogan was even around, I was established with my rock and roll suit and, of course, my big boom box. Woo. When the day came on television when Bobby Heenan was managing the Black and Blue Express, Ken Patera and Bob Duncan, Montana and rock and roll on television, that was the day the music died. That's the day they busted my big radio. And coming out of the back skirt was Hulk Hogan, who then took care of Ken Patera and Bobby Heenan all by himself, and this started this big program where I was going to get even with Bobby Heenan for destroying my radio, and then Ken Patera and Bob Duncan had this thing against Hulk Hogan for coming into the ring. What they said was none of Hulk Hogan's business. They were just doing what Bobby Heenan wanted them to do, and that was destroy Tito Santana and Buck ZumHofe and take care of the radio. So the angle was set. Tito Santana had a thing going against the Black and Blue Express. Hulk Hogan had a thing against the Black and Blue Express.
Yep.
And Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe had the thing against Bobby Heenan. So I wrestled Bobby Heenan just about off of that angle for almost 3 years, and I'm talking all over the United States and everywhere we went. So you bet I was in the driver's seat. I was making good money, and of course we threw that cruiserweight, lightweight champion belt business in there. So while I was wrestling Bobby Heenan, for the reason that he busted my radio, I was still chasing Mike Graham from Florida and Steve Regal. Now, this is the Steve Regal from Indiana, not the other one.
Right, Mr. Electricity.
And we had a 3-way thing going for the cruiserweight belt, so I was sitting in the driver's seat. I had it made. It was either a grudge match or a championship match, and I worked, 250 times a year. I was happier than a pig in shit.
You know what? Those are great memories, too, because I can remember you and Bobby working a few times and all that good stuff going on in the AWA. And then, you talked about Mr. Electricity, Steve Regal, who wrestled with Jimmy Garvin. Actually, they were tag team champions for a while there in the AWA.
Right.
And great memories. Now, before we go, Buck, first I want to say thank you again for, coming on the show with us. It's always a pleasure and always a thrill to have you on because your passion for the business and your passion for the fans.
We sure like to get out that way.
Yeah.
We had the Honky Tonk Man up here for the last couple of weeks. We enjoy him wrestling on our shows.
Yep.
And, he's from Arizona, I guess.
Yeah, and he's actually going to be on our show here in about 30 minutes. He's going to be a guest, and I mentioned to him earlier today, I should say, that I spoke to you, and you were going to be on the show. He goes, I just spoke to him yesterday. So I know you guys are pretty tight, and he he always enjoys coming up there, he said. He really does.
Okay, and I want to tell you that I am very, very proud of my rock and roll wrestling. I know that nobody really knows this, But two Saturdays ago, are you listening?
I am.
Okay. I had 8 guys, 8 girls, guys, and midgets on 4 different shows. I had 32 boys on the road, and I had 4 shows in the same day.
Wow. That's fantastic.
I don't think everybody's accomplished that. And I'm sorry, the Honky Tonk Man was on 2 of those shows, and one of the shows was recorded by True TV. We were at a bar in Illinois where the True TV team was there. They were recording rock and roll wrestling. So I'm pretty proud of my team and the boys and the midgets and the girls. We knocked off a show Saturday afternoon, 2 of them in the afternoon and 2 of them in the evening on the same day. We had trucks, rings, and boys running all over the Midwest. It was pretty awesome.
That is fantastic. And I was going to ask you how your business was going up there, and you were always telling me how proud you are of it and all the people you have working for you. And I know Honky mentioned that about, I think he said Oshkosh, Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken, or Toma, right around that area where he was working, or he was in that area with you. And that's great. You know, and Buck, I tell you what, I want to have you on again down the road here because I always enjoy your passion for this business. I always enjoy you talking about the business that you still love and that you're still kicking butt at today. It's always a pleasure to have you on the phone. And before we let you go, how about a quick little word to all the fans out there to get a hold of you, or just a couple words to them, let you know that you're on their side?
Okay, it's Rock and Roll Wrestling, same as always, rockandrollwrestling.com. Give it a look.
Nice. Rockandrollwrestling.com. Thank you, Buck. Take care of yourself and have yourself a good week, okay? All right. There you go. Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe joining us here on Off the Top Rope Radio. It's always a pleasure to have him on here. The guy is full of energy, man. I'll tell you what, he's got some stories that you could sit here and listen to for probably, a few hours at least. And, when you talk about the AWA, the American Wrestling Association, if you do have memories of that, it was great professional wrestling. You go back to the days of, Georgia and even early WWF back in the day, Jim Crockett Promotions, Mid-South, world-class championship wrestling, which, by the way, speaking of world-class, I just spoke with Kevin Von Erich on Monday. We talked for about a good half an hour, and he's doing quite well. He's very busy out there with his family and his work and whatnot, and he really was happy to have all the wrestling fans know that he's doing just fine. He's very much into his family and very much into his people and his religion and everything else, which is great. He wanted me to let everybody know that he's doing wonderful, and we are going to have him on the air here very, very soon, probably within the next couple of weeks. I also spoke with Billy Gunn on Monday as well, and Billy Gunn wants to come on either next week or the week after. So we've got some fantastic wrestling interviews lined up here very, very soon, and I can't wait to have it. That one right there with Mr. Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe, that was a great one as well. And Joe's going to be having Kamala on the phone here in just a few minutes as well and get him on here and talk some professional wrestling. We're also going to catch up on the latest health updates with Mr. Jim Harris, known, of course, as Kamala.
Thank you.
And, he went through quite a bit of bad things here recently, and it's really no surprise now or no mystery, but, he did lose both his legs from the knee down, I do believe, due to some sickness that he suffered. And, he's also been kind of, I think in some ways kind of wronged based on them trying to raise some money for him. And we're going to bring all that up because it's pretty serious when you start talking about people who are making money for somebody who is ill, such as what Kamala went through and is still going through, and then they don't come through and pay it off. And I'm not saying this as me myself because I wasn't there. I don't have everything right in front of me. But Kamala, who's going to be on the phone here in just about 5 seconds, he's going to talk about it and kind of give us the update. So without further ado, I definitely want to go ahead and welcome my next guest, a very, very good friend of mine, someone that I'm very proud to call friend because he's definitely and easily one of the nicest men, not only in the wrestling business, but in the world. I truly believe that he's got a heart of gold, and I love him to death. And he is, of course, Jim Harris, Kamala, the Ugandan Giant. Welcome to Off the Top Rope Radio with Brian Schenk and Joe C. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderfully, and I would like for you, if you could, just to prove that you are, because I've had people say, I don't know if that's Kamala. Give us one little piece, if you could, of back in the day when you'd come on the TV screens and let people know that you were in the microphone, please, if you would. That's Kamala right there, baby. I love it, man. I love it. You know, Kamala, I'll tell you what, when we used to see it come on the TV screen when I was younger, and I know that my nephew used to watch you, and he'd always get scared when you came out because, you know, the makeup and the big, you know, spear and, of course, Friday and kimchi and the Grand Wizard. A truly remarkable package. And I also talked about this off the air before we got you on about, for you being a big man, how graceful you were inside the ring, you know, going off the top rope and doing the big kick to the face and being very agile. Were you pretty much an athlete throughout your whole younger years until you got into professional wrestling? Did you play sports in school and all that good stuff?
Well, the only thing I ever did was when I went to school and I played a little high school football, and I learned how to get in shape. Mm-hmm. Even though I was big, but I learned how to get in shape. And I guess, you know, I used to see what smaller guys did when I was young,
right?
And I tried to follow in their footsteps. I wanted to do the same thing that I see small guys doing, but I couldn't do it as well, but I could do it.
Right.
So I guess that's where I got all my agility. I got that from.
Did you ever think that you were going to be in professional wrestling at a younger age before you got into it, or was it kind of like somebody came up to you and approached you, or you kind of inquired about it and bam, it happened? I mean, how did that all come about?
What do you mean, wrestling?
Yes, sir.
Well, I couldn't find a job when I was living in Ben Harbor, Michigan, and I used to love to watch wrestling on TV, but I never wanted to be a wrestler. And so I was riding with my sister's boyfriend, and I got disgusted after I just couldn't find a job. I had been looking so long, so I told my sister's boyfriend, I said, I just ought to go and wrestle. And he said, oh, really? And I said it for a joke, so he took me to his house, but Bobo wasn't home. He was on the road somewhere. So he took me to Bobo's best friend, Tainted Tim.
Okay.
And Tainted Tim Hampton. So he said, I train you. So he started working out with me. And after all the big snow came, I left Michigan. I couldn't stand all this snow. And I came back to Arkansas, so a guy named Mario Calento trained me. And that's how I got into business.
Wow. That's pretty interesting because, you know, I guess a lot of people think that, you know, all the wrestlers back in the day, you know, they were trained by these big stars and they went to all these fancy wrestling schools and whatnot. It's kind of cool that it sounds like in a lot of ways you were kind of brought into the business by coincidence, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that too.
Yeah.
I would say that too.
I'm glad that you were brought in.
Can walk in the business.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
I said just about anybody can walk into business now as long as they got one muscle. They ain't got to have one.
Yeah, I hear that. I know exactly where you're coming from. In case you're just tuning into the wrestling show here off the Top Rope Radio, ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans, we are speaking, of course, to Jim Harris, known as Kamala, the Ugandan Giant, good friend of mine, and talk a little bit about back in the day and the wrestling and stuff like that and whatnot. And, you know, Jim, last week we had on Baby Doll, who is a very good friend of ours, both of us. And, of course, Joe C. knows Joe C. across the board who knows Baby Doll quite well. And, you know, the one thing that really kind of upset me here over the last week or so is there's been a lot of things going on. I want to have you talk about it if you may. And you can talk about it in any depth you want to or as much or little as you'd like to. But recently here over the last year, it's not really a surprise, and you made videos about it and everything else. I actually made a video with your son inside the hospital room where both of your legs were amputated due to a sickness in your health and whatnot. And I know that you even said in the video, you yourself said this as Jim Harris. You said, you know, don't feel sorry for me. Don't sit there and give me pity. Don't give me sympathy. You know, this is what's happened in my life. I accept it. I'll go on. I'll live my life, and I want you to know that you wrestling fans who support me and still to this day support me, I appreciate that, and that's all I want. And, Jim, I got to tell you, I actually started to cry when I watched that video, and I didn't cry because of what you were going through. I mean, in some ways I did, but I was tearing up because what you said is not an easy thing for somebody who went through that to say. I think a lot of people may have played the other card by saying, you know, why me, and I'll never go on with my life. It's tremendous that you said that, and not only that you said it, but that you mean it. And I'd like for you to kind of talk a little bit about it, if you would please, and kind of explain to everybody out there exactly, you know, what is going on with Kamala these days.
we got a bad connection, but it's something about the video that I made.
Yeah, just basically kind of about what you're what you're going through right now, and how you're feeling, and the support of the fans obviously are keeping you going every day.
Yes, well, I feel good right now. My upper body is real good, and after they took my legs off, both of them above the knee.
Okay.
So I'm in a wheelchair now, but I'm still all right. I don't want people to feel sorry for me. And I appreciate them thinking about me, loving me, and sending their prayers and whatever. To me, that means so much, and it keep my spirit up.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about the video is, this thing with Don Marie and this thing with Dan Marati at MWF, I think it is,
okay,
out of Boston. They supposedly were doing benefits for me. So they called me up and asked me about doing a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
First, Don Marie called me up a few months ago about doing a benefit for me. So I had never heard of Wrestlers Rescue before.
Mm-hmm.
And so she introduced me to it, told me what to do. It sounded good. And they were going to auction this. So they had a lot of people that donate stuff to them, and then all the proceeds come to me. Well, that was good. That was good because, I'm kind of seeing a rough time, very rough time right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I accepted it. And then she called me up later on and told me that, okay, we're going to send you a check out. So she didn't tell me how much at first. She's going to send me a check out. The check never did come. Then she called me up again. I'm going to send you a check out today. I never did get the check. So I called her, and I couldn't get her. I called, and her telephone said that the message was full. They couldn't accept any more messages. So I didn't know what to do. So anyway, I waited and waited and waited. She didn't send the check. And so that's when I did the video. And I did it for the same reason with Dan Marati out of MWF.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, after I exposed them and did the video, then here come the check. That's why they were making copies of the check to send it to show the fans and the people that they did try to help me, and I didn't accept it. No, Don Marie check was not a certified check, so I learned years ago about checks. I called the bank that the check was on, and they said the funds were not available as of yet. So I sent Don Marie the check back.
Wow.
After that. Yeah, I sent the check back. And she's saying, she's telling a lie that she sent me the mail was certified. Well, I still have the envelope over there where it was sent, which it don't matter a lot. It was sent just regular mail.
Okay.
I mean, which is fine.
Right.
But it was all after I exposed them to the business, to what they were doing, and the money was not getting where it was supposed to. Then they wanted to pay. Then they wanted to send me a little money.
Can I ask you, James? You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but can I ask you what the amount was on the check?
Don Marie sent a check for $500.
$500. Okay.
And I sent it back, but like I say, because the funds was not available in that account, and if I put it in my account and the funds not available, they're gonna charge me $35.
Damn right.
I can't afford it.
Yeah, no, that's wrong. And that's the thing too, because there's been a lot of people talking, a lot of rumors and stuff going around on the internet and whatnot, and I want to make sure I had you on here to talk about it, because when you said Dawn Marie, you of course mean, just so we all know, Dawn Marie, of course, from ECW fame, and also from World Wrestling Entertainment fame when she came in and did a little stint there with Tori Wilson. Was this something where they came to you out of the blue and tried to do this, or was this something that you had inquired about, or was this all just based on something they wanted to do for you?
No, it's something they wanted to do. They contacted me.
Okay.
But like I said, I never heard of Dawn Marie, and she said she was in the WWE at one time, and Vince fired her because she got pregnant. See, I don't know, because I don't watch wrestling. And Dan Marati, I know Dan because I worked for him before.
Right.
And I got paid whatever the deal we made, I got paid. But see, the reason I got paid is because I got my money up front before I put my paint on my face. I went to the ring because I know a lot of guys like that. You know, they hit the back door when the show is over with.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I've experienced that.
Yeah, and I'm not laughing because of that. I'm just laughing because I've worked for some of those people. Trust me, I've done ring announcing and managing and commissioner gimmicks where, you know, they say this and they say that, then you go get your paycheck and, you know, they ain't around. They had to leave or they'll mail it to you. And trust me, I grew up in the Chicago suburbs, and there was all kinds of those people. So I know what you mean. And I'll tell you what, in the last few minutes that we do have here, because unfortunately, you know, we only have so much time, and this is something I'm going to ask you just because I want the fans to just know one thing. You do care about the wrestling fans. I'm not asking you this. I'm telling the fans this. You do care about the wrestling fans. Anytime you get a letter or an email or a text or a note or a Facebook message, you answer it, and you answer it out of the love of your heart for the wrestling fans. And last week on our show, me and Baby Doll had mentioned your P.O. box and said, hey, if you want to send a card or a letter or something or a poem, or if you want to send a few bucks, whatever you want to do. We're not asking for money. We're not asking for you to do anything. But if you people, out of the kindness of your heart, they may not know how to get a hold of you. So what I want to do is, if I may, James, is have you go ahead and read off your P.O. box, if you would, and let them know that if they want to send you something, a card, letter, a poem, some money, I don't know, anything, they are able to do that. And this is not anything that they have to do, but if they want to, can you tell them how they can go about doing that, please?
Right. Well, you know, I do have a PayPal account but it's for people when they order my CDs, my pictures,
sure,
and stuff like that. And anyway, I have a P.O. box. It's P.O. Box 235, Como, COMO, Mississippi. The zip code is 38619.
Okay.
And remember, it's just for, if people send donation, I accept them, yeah.
Sure.
But they don't have to send me a donation to be my friend.
That's right.
But if they want to, then it's well appreciated. I'm grateful. Right. And, you know, my PayPal account is JKIMALA. And a lot of at AOL.com, I'm sorry.
Okay.
A lot of people see Emma Bradley name on the PayPal account. Well, Emma Bradley, that is my wife. She just never did change her name. So a lot of people ask, they question it, why they see, they see Emma Bradley name up there.
And you know what else?
I guess she didn't change her name just in case she have to run. She don't have to take it back.
Well, if she's running, hey, if she would have been running from you, I tell you what, I Kamala do like a little splash off the top rope back in the good old days. I'll tell you right now. But let me just go ahead before we let you go, James. I just want to reread this information. If you want to send a letter, a card, a poem, maybe you might be younger and be a fan, maybe a drawing or something, or if you want to send, some money or money order, anything is appreciated. And again, we're not begging or asking. If it's something you want to do out of the kindness of your heart, and as being a wrestling fan of the day, you can do that. You can send it to, just put James Harris or Jim Harris, P.O. Box 235, Como, that's COMO, Mississippi, 38619. Once again, P.O. Box 235, Como, COMO, Mississippi, 38619. And if you want to say anything via PayPal, if that's easier for you, that again, the address, you go to paypal.com, type it into J like in James, Kamala, that's JKIMALA at AOL.com. And the other thing is, too, is if you want to go out there and say, hey, I want to order a picture, go ahead and order a picture. That way you're actually buying something that you're selling, and, you'll mail it out to them. But if you just want to say, hey, James, thank you for all the great memories in wrestling. Here's a few bucks to help you get by. Just a little payback. You can do that, too. And, we love you, man, and we wish you all the best. I know you and I will keep in touch as the days go by and whatnot, and, somewhere down the road, we'll get you back on. And you keep me in touch, too, on how you're doing, and as well as, the people replying to everything. I'm sure your P.O. Box is going to get pretty flooded, and I know there's a lot of people out there who do care about you. So, James Kamala Harris, thank you so much for being on Off the Top Rope Radio here on KQCK. Brian Schenk and Joe C. And really quick before we let you go, how about a quick word for the fans?
Okay, well, I want to thank all my fans for staying in touch with me, writing me, and most of all, I thank them for their prayers.
There you go.
So anyway, I want you all to know that I love each and every one of y'all.
All right, love
and,
it.
Just a side note, there's a lot of people up on the chat. Just, my thoughts and prayers go out to James Kamala Harris. Just all kinds of stuff like that. And I want to thank you guys for writing that down, and we certainly all feel the same way here.
Without a doubt. And listen, James, you take good care of yourself. God bless you, my friend, and thank you once again. We'll be talking to you very soon. Best of luck and best of health to you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Brian.
You're very welcome, my friend. Take good care. God bless. All right, there you go. James Kamala Harris, good friend of mine, and somebody who is obviously someone that we really enjoy talking to. He's just a great, sweet person. And, the thing is, in professional wrestling, people may get reputations about being this and about being that, and they say, this guy wouldn't put this guy over, and this guy wouldn't do this, and this guy said that. But you know what? I've asked everybody that I know in the wrestling business about Kamala, not just lately, too, because of what's been going on here in the news. And I'll tell you what, man, he is just one of the nicest, most respected people of all time. And he's a good person. And, he's fallen some hard times, and we really, really miss him in regards to being inside the ring. And we miss him, being out there and doing the autograph sessions. But I'll tell you what, he's going to get through. He loves his wrestling fans. James Kamala Harris, we love him as well. And you keep doing your thing out there, my brother. You'll be just fine, because all the people out there who love you will keep you going. And it's always a pleasure talking to you. And it's always a pleasure to be talking to my next guest. And just by the way, remember one thing, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get on the air, we're going to try to do something at the end. But if we do not, don't take offense. We're going to go ahead and keep it in play for next week because, well, I'll tell you why.
He's a honky tonk man.
I have always promised him whenever I had him on my show that I would always play his song and regard him as the greatest intercontinental champion of all time. He is the man who still holds the belt, in my opinion, because he was not scheduled to face the Ultimate Warrior at SummerSlam. He is, of course, the Honky Tonk Man, my good friend. How you doing, buddy?
I'm hanging and banging, but I tell you what, I don't know if that was scratchy for the fans out there, but it sounded like one of those 33 1/3.
Brian brought in his little pocket recorder, and he didn't even tell me to throw that on. He just wanted to do that.
I did that for a reason because I want.
Must be a windstorm coming down in Queen Creek headed my way.
I did that for a reason because with Joe having the problems with the phones and stuff like that, I wasn't sure what was going to be happening. So I just made sure I had a backup. And I always did tell you, Wayne, that if I always had you on my show, I was always going to play your song regardless of how it sounded.
Absolutely. And, I've done that radio business myself, and I understand that anything can happen.
Yep.
I mean, anything.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll tell you what, anything is happening right now because we do have Wayne Ferris, of course, the Honky Tonk Man, the greatest intercontinental champion of all time, right here on the air with us, closing out the show for the next 11 or 12 minutes. And I'll tell you what, Wayne, it's a wonderful thing to have you on the program. You have been busier than well, I'm not going to say the word I was thinking of, but you've been very busy. And you are always somebody who is in demand in the wrestling world. Buck Rock and Roll ZumHofe was on the beginning of the show. He talked about your tour that you just had there a few weeks ago and that you're all over the Wisconsin and Midwest area. What is the Honky Tonk Man doing these days?
Well, that's it. I finally get a weekend off, but I'm doing a DVD shoot tomorrow for some guys from Toronto. They're coming down to talk to myself and Superstar Billy Graham, and I don't know what it's about, but he told me it had something to do with my career, so who knows?
Well, that should be a long shoot, man, because you've had a hell of a long career.
Well, I hope it doesn't go that long because I'd like to get back out here to Gilbert, before the windstorm comes up from Queen Creek.
That could be any time now. But, I'll tell you what.
Just so the people know, you're down south of me in Queen Creek, Arizona, and I'm up in Gilbert, which is, it used to be Higley, which was a stepchild of Gilbert, and now we're actually Gilbert. And if anybody knows anything about the Mesa, Phoenix area, we're at the corner of Power and Baseline. I am. you're way the heck south. I remember when there was nothing down there but horse barns and cattle barns.
Why is it that we don't have you in studio and you're on the phone? This is nuts. You should be coming down here. We'll take good care of you, man.
Well,
I know, but I never get down. I never get down that way. I haven't been down that way in probably 5 years.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next time we do, would you come on down to the studios and do it live with us? We'll do a whole show with you.
Why don't we send a limo to pick you up?
I mean, anything's possible with a Honky Tonk Man.
Okay, now listen. Now, we're not just talking about you driving out here. We'll send a limousine to come get you. I'm serious.
Oh, well, I don't need that. I mean, I'm just a plain old country boy.
Now, wait a second. Hey, wait a minute. I'll have Peggy Sue in the back.
Well, I know what you were talking about. You were talking about a club cab on a Ford pickup.
That's right.
Hey, wait a minute. We were talking more of a Dodge Ram, but if you want a Ford, we'll do a Ford. It's all good. But no, I'm dead.
It doesn't matter to me. They're all crooks.
I'm dead serious. We'll send a limousine because we got one here for the station. We'd be happy to pick you up one day and send you out and drive you back home if you'd like to come on out. We'd be an honor.
Now you want me to get in trouble with the neighbors, then they think I was a big shot.
Well, we'll even feed you as long as you don't eat much.
Well, I've been on this diet now, so I'm good with fruits and vegetables. I mean, I'm a cheap date.
Is that right? You've been eating a lot better here lately, I've been told.
Yeah, heck, man, I lost 6 or 8 pounds in the last 3-4 weeks, so I feel great.
What are you doing? Seriously, are you doing a lot of fiber in your diet, a lot of proteins? What are you doing?
No, a little bit of both. I'm having, like I said, I do a lot of fruits, vegetables, and things like that. I believe, and any of these nutritionists, I mean, they might disagree with me out there, but I think anything that grows in or out of this great earth of ours, there's nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm. I hear you. Now, are you a big vegetable guy? I mean, do you like pretty much all of them?
Yeah, pretty much. I've always enjoyed that. You know, being out on the road like we were with Rock and Roll Buck ZumHofe this past weekend, and being up in northern Wisconsin, northern Minnesota, and places like that, you get out of a show at 1 or 2 in the morning. It's hard to find fruits, nuts, and vegetables. You know, I mean,
sure.
You can find a lot of fruits and nuts, but
yeah. They're usually the ones that are working at the vegetable stands.
Well, no, they're usually at Denny's at about 4 in the morning.
Yeah. And they're the ones that are actually working and cooking your food too. I'll tell you what.
It's really hard to find, to get the right foods when you're on the road. Sure. But when I was in WWE and everything, we were 300 days, so we could eat anything we wanted because we always worked out. And, of course, we're doing 15, 20-minute matches 60, 70 days straight in a row, so no one had any body fat on them.
Right, yeah, well, most everybody didn't. But, going back to the vegetables, I want to ask you a question. I'm going to give you 5 vegetables, Honky. And out of those 5 vegetables, when I say them to you, you rate me between 1 and 5, 1 being 5 being I love them, and just to kind of see where you're at, okay? So here's the first one.
Okay.
Lima beans.
2.5.
Okay. How about
Is this from 1 to 10?
1 to 5.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. How about turnips?
4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, I like turnips. How about beets?
And I like the green part on the turnips. I mean, the greener it is, the better it is for you.
Really? Oh, I heard that too about the greens, yeah. How about beets?
Beets, they rate up there, yeah, they're around 4.
Okay. Asparagus?
5.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
a 5 for me too.
You're a veggie dude.
I love asparagus.
Just had asparagus on top of a nice steak last night.
Was a steak from Target?
No, I didn't get them this time from Target. I actually got them at Costco, the Price Club. They were on sale.
Yeah.
Nice prime tenderloin.
Really? Are they good over there at Costco?
Yeah, they're not bad,
Yeah.
bad. I actually prefer the Target ones. We talked about that before.
Yeah, we did. And you said I think it was a Hormel brand, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the flavor's a little bit better.
Yeah. See, all that drinking hasn't ruined my memory too much, Wayne. You and I can still remember the days.
I've cut way back on that part too. I mean, I do my thing sometimes, and it gets out of hand on sometimes, and it's what these college kids call binge drinking. And I wish I wouldn't do that. I wish I could just stick to like 1 or 2 beers in one night instead of having 30 and then crashing.
I hear you. Well, I was talking more about me, not you anyway, with the drinking. I meant myself because I know that you've really controlled that here, and I'm really proud of you. I got one more vegetable. I said I was going to give you 5. That was 4. And this is the tell-all to really show how much you really do and love vegetables, okay? And here's the last one. This is the tell-all. Okra.
Oh, I'm a number 5 on that. I don't care how it's cooked.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Ugh.
Wow.
You like okra?
Yeah, oh, gosh, man, it's really good when you put it in gumbo. Seafood gumbo, oh, gosh, give it to me, Daddy.
Did you say Oprah?
Not Oprah. If I said Oprah,
I was picturing Oprah and some seafood gumbo there.
She's too old for me. got to remember now, I'm kin to the Lawler family, so no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I think Oprah's. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that one alone. I know that you're part. And speaking of Jerry Lawler, I'm glad you said that because some fans were asking me about, ask him about his relationship with Jerry Lawler. But you told me even I think on the last show that things have kind of gotten a little bit better with you guys over the last year or so, couple years. Are you guys on talking basis? Are you cordial with each other? I mean.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was one of those things. I told some fellows yesterday in an interview. Mm-hmm. It was during that attitude era, and I was on the forefront of the social networking media, mm-hmm. and I see where even today Kevin Nash has picked up on some of my old stuff and started saying some things that got some of the wrestlers all riled up, and mm-hmm. but you got to be seen and heard in this business no matter what you do, mm-hmm. and I mentioned, I think I mentioned to you earlier, I did these shoot interviews 6, 7, 8 years ago, yep. and everyone got hot at me and said, hey, you shouldn't do that, man. People are going to be mad at you. Well, now everyone that's left WWE, the first thing they do is go do a shoot interview.
Yeah. And you know what? I think some of them who are still in WWE or TNA, they probably want to do those because if I'm not mistaken, they pay you kind of pretty well, don't they? I mean, I don't know how much they pay you, but I think it's got to be a pretty decent payday.
In the beginning, they pay good for them, and then the more you do, of course, the less the pay. So, yeah. But I don't have anybody now. All the guys that I would have to say things about, they're either not wrestling anymore, or they passed on to the somewhere to the Wrestlers Hall of Fame somewhere.
I want to ask you a question because we don't have a lot of time. Unfortunately, we're kind of tight with the schedule today. But one of your good, close, personal friends in the wrestling business, Kevin Nash, had made a comment here, and I don't know if you heard about it or not. And if you have or haven't, I'm going to go ahead and let the fans know. He made a comment here about the day that Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit both won world championships at WrestleMania on the same night. I believe it was in 2005. He said that was a night that wrestling died, meaning that these shorter guys under 6 feet and whatever else winning championships, that was the end of the business, so to speak, as he knew it. First of all...
my question to Kevin would be, where does Shawn Michaels fit in that picture?
Exactly.
But, I mean, it's one of those things. I understand where Kevin's coming from because I've said it before. Especially the WWE now, years ago, it was a big man's territory. Mm-hmm. If you weren't over that 6 foot, 6'2", 6'3", and 300 pounds, it was a place that I thought, because I was 6'1" and weighed 240, mm-hmm. I might never get there because they did like bigger guys. Mm-hmm. Vince's dad did anyway.
Yeah. Well, no, that's true. And, you had people like the Ultimate Warrior, and you had people like, of course, Earthquake and Hulk Hogan, obviously, back in the day and whatnot. And, it definitely is a changed business. And before we go, we are speaking, of course, with the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. And we've got some people on the message board here. We're very interactive. We take calls. We do stuff on the message board. Very professional. And we send that limousine to come pick you up one day and bring you out here. You'll see how nice it is. But CAC Morgan, who is, of course, Morgan Dollar from the CAC, the Cauliflower Alley Club in Las Vegas, a fine, fine organization. My favorite time of the year is going to the CAC. But he has a question, and he actually has a comment. He says, what did he say? There he is. He's a CAC honoree. You should have him ask him about the Cauliflower Alley Club. So if you can, in a minute or so, give us some comments and thoughts about the CAC, the Cauliflower Alley Club.
It's a great organization. I was very flattered and honored to go there, not this year, but last year. I couldn't make it this year because I was booked and was out on the road. But hopefully next year I'll be able to go back again. It's such a gathering of really, really nice people, a good organization that does a lot of good work. And I was so flattered and honored to be an honoree last year of the award that was about guys that's my age and still out here doing what we do. And and I made mention of all the independent promoters that was there that night and had them stand up because without them, the independent promoters, there's no place for these young kids to showcase their talent. And Cauliflower Alley has an award for the young and upcoming wrestlers, whether it be a girl or a guy. Kurt Angle won it one year. Karma, Awesome Kong, she won it one year. And the year that I got honored was this young fellow from Canada, Cal Sebastian. So But the work they do and everything it's all worthwhile, and it's a great banquet. I mean, it's a good 3-day event to have some fun, and you don't really have to be in the wrestling business to join it.
No, and not only that, but you just when you're not in the wrestling business, even more fun, because if you're just standing around listening to people talk, it's really cool. Because I was eavesdropping on you and Cowboy Bob Orton at the last event back in 2011, and I took like some random pictures of you guys, just there with with the group and stuff, and just the smiles on your faces were so real and so genuine, and just sharing some of the stories. It's a very, very fine organization. I love the CAC. I wish I would have been involved years ago, because I just found it about 2-3 years ago, and I'm going every single year. And are you going to be there this coming year in 2013?
I am going to try my best, and hopefully I won't be booked anywhere. They have it midweek, which is a good thing.
Yep.
I want to go every time, and I'm like you. I didn't really know what it was about until about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and then I kind of hum-hauled around and didn't join. Then finally I joined for a year, and then I got my renewal notice, and I was talking to Nick Bockwinkel on Saturday, and it said, from the desk of Nicholas Bockwinkel, and it had a caricature of Nick with his big chest out, his beautiful combed hair, but he had little bitty skinny legs. I told the wife, I said, that's it, I'm joining for life.
It's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about, because I got that same letter, and Nick is great. I mean, you talk about a guy who will sit there and literally talk to you for hours. That's Nick Bockwinkel.
Yeah. I mean, I talked to him Saturday. We called him on the road, Buck and I, and had a little short conversation with him. And I said, "How you doing?" He says, "Well, I got one crutch one day. Some days I have two. And you know what? These people say it's from that fake wrestling business." I said, "Yeah, I know they don't understand. We're all broken up, but it's supposed to be it's a fake wrestling business."
Yeah, well, I still to this day I get upset when people say fake. I said, let me ask you. I said, how do you fake coming off 15 feet from the air and landing on somebody on the mat and trying your best not to kill the guy and taking those bumps? I says, you watch these people in the sport doing this, ain't nothing fake about that. I mean, it's predetermined. You know who's going to win, who's going to lose, but the fakeness, I don't buy it.
That's true. When you see a guy get picked up and slammed, or he gets suplexed off the top rope, I don't know if your eyes are deceiving you, or is his body really hitting the mat. I mean,
yeah. No, I hear you. Hey, but before we go, Darla has a comment here on the message board. She says, Honky Tonk Man can also do some mighty fine dancing. He proved that at the banquet last year with Sonny.
Yeah, we had fun with that, and I wanted to do something different and capture people's attention, and I tried to get Joyce Grable to come up and do the little dance with me and everything. She wouldn't do it, so then Sonny said, but she waved her hand, and I said, come on up. And it was a real good high spot.
Nice. All right, we got about 2 minutes here left in the show, so before I go, I want to ask you one thing real quick answers. Who was the easiest person inside the ring to work like it was a day off, and who was the stiffest MFer that you ever got inside the ring with?
Oh, gosh, I'll take the last part first. The stiffest was this guy called Mr. Clean out of Atlanta, who came up to work in the show on a Friday night in Tupelo, Mississippi, and he backed me against the ropes and called a 1-2 punch, and when I punched him, and then when he punched me back, he cracked my jaw, and I had hinges loose, and I thought, well, man, this is the stiffest guy in the world. But I met a lot of stiff ones. I try not to remember them. And some of the best guys in the ring, gosh, Jake the Snake, Ricky Steamboat, Jimmy Snuka, Hogan, Macho Man, Randy Savage. I can't say enough about those guys. Real pros. Yeah,
I tell you what, we had Jake the Snake Roberts on last week, and he's doing quite well from what he was saying. He told me that he is getting in to Diamond Dallas Page's YRG, Yoga for Regular Guys. Comments on that?
I would really like to see Jake put his ankle behind his head, but I've seen Diamond Dallas do this and watched him do it, and it's really something. And from what I understand, it's something that's sweeping the nation now, and everyone's getting into doing it. I meditate a different way. When I'm riding down the highway, I look out on the countryside, and I think about things that past, present, and future.
There you go. I like that. I do that a lot, too. I like going out on my deck on about midnight when everybody's asleep and I got a nice cold beer and some music in the background and looking at my pool with the light on and just looking out into the horizon and just really loving life, and I think that's exactly what you're talking about, Wayne.
Yep, That's my meditation.
Beautiful, brother. Hey, you know what? You're a good friend of mine, and I'm honored to call you that. And, you're always the best to ever talk to here on our show. And like I said, down the road, I'm dead serious. We'll send you that KQCK limousine, pick you up, bring you out here, feed you, talk on the air, get some phone calls coming in because that's what it's all about. Get you in studio, take a bunch of calls. I know you love to hear all the fans' questions and comments, don't you?
Yep, I don't mind taking it. There's no question I cannot answer. If I can't, I'll tell a lie.
There you go, buddy. Hey, that's how I got married. So all good there. All right, listen, Wayne, you take good care of yourself, and I hope you're doing well out there. And, try to do me a favor and get better on those lima beans, okay? Try to make sure that number comes up a little bit next time I talk to you.
Well, maybe they were okay. Maybe I had them mixed up with the navy beans. I was never a big navy bean fan. Limas are okay.
They're both bad. Joe, you want to say anything to Honky before we let him go?
No, not really. I'm glad you're eating your veggies, man. That's a good thing.
Okay, yeah.
We always appreciate you coming on, Honky Tonk.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me, guys.
You're welcome, Wayne. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
All right.
All right, thank you. All right, there you go. The greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man. You know, when I asked him who was his easiest opponent and who was a day off for him, I think he's the guy that we always have on the air who, to me, is a day off because we just talk to him as if, you and I are talking, Joe, and he's a great person. He's funnier than hell, and I'm a nice guy, yeah. I'm honored to call him friend. He's always gotten a lot of slack from people in the business about, he's an ass. And
I just can't believe you because he's in Gilbert and you don't have him in studio. What's wrong with you?
I've talked to him before about coming out, but you know what? He travels so much, dude. He is so busy. I'm dead serious. A lot of times during the week, he's doing shows or he's doing autograph sessions. He travels a lot. He probably does about 100 dates a year, which for an independent wrestler, that's fantastic.
He does as many dates as you brought in flies to the studio today.
Yeah, I don't think I brought them.
Man, I'll tell you what, they were all attached to you like Pigpen on Snoopy.
Are those your socks hanging off the bar stool over there? That's why they're in here.
No, they're sitting on your lap, so I'm pretty sure maybe something needs to be changed down there.
Somebody else is sitting in my lap, let me tell you. Anyway, listen, before we go, I just want to say one thing. This studio looks absolutely tremendous, Joe.
Thank you.
I really mean that. Since I've come back, which I'm pleased as hell to be back. I've said that last week, and I really mean it. I wouldn't say it if I didn't mean it. But the lights in here.
Did you see the new neons we put in during the week?
Let me finish here. I want to give you props here, brother.
All right.
The screens, everything about in here, the neon lights he's got back here. See, I told you I was going to mention that. Killian's red, and, of course, the Budweiser USA Olympics from Vancouver. Just the pictures on the wall. This is a fantastic radio station studio, and I am so honored and privileged to be in here. I really mean that. And I'm not saying it to kiss up to you because I don't have to. I'm serious. I don't have to kiss up to you.
No, you don't.
I'm just saying that this is very...
But I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean it. And because you know what? There's a lot of work in here. There's a lot of time spent, and there's a lot of money spent. And you know what? It's done because you have a passion for this radio business like I do. And
Absolutely.
You really appreciate the
You're
people.
right about that.
Yeah. And I can tell. You're up till 4 or 5 in the morning, man, and you're going. I chat with this guy at 1 o'clock in the morning on Facebook all the time, and I love it because I enjoy, just everything that goes on here at KQCK. And I enjoy the fans out there, Diggity Dag, CAC Morgan, Darla, all you guys and girls. I appreciate it, and I thank you so much for tuning in to Off the Top Rope Radio right here on KQCK Radio Station here in Santan Valley, Arizona. Brian Schenk and Joe C, of course, with you. Every Wednesday, we are back on the air, 3 o'clock Pacific, 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Spread the word. Jared, Julie, thank you for calling in with your comments. I'll be back next week on the 15th, and I've got a very special guest lined up for next week. I'm not going to say it because if it doesn't come true, then I'm going to be really pissed off. But I've got some good things going on. So everybody, thank you so much. Joe, thank you. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook, KQCK, and, of course, Brian Schenk, SCHENK, and Joe Carreiro. Spell your last name just so I don't spell it wrong.
Carreiro.
See, I always do the IE backwards. That's why I would have been wrong. So Carreiro, right?
That's correct.
That's you go. Okay, so join us. Send us a letter. Send us a note. Whatever. We appreciate it. If you want to send us emails, it's Joe, Joe, at KQCKlive.com, and Brian, Brian, at KQCKlive.com. We answer them all. We read them all. We thank and appreciate them all. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Everybody have a good day, a good night, good week. We'll talk to you next time.
Another day, just